Trump's tariffs have officially kicked in. This will include the additional 25% penalty that he imposed on Indian imports. This would basically mean that Americans will have to now pay a 50% tariff on imports of several Indian products. This is naturally expected to affect India's exports in the near future. Many experts are now predicting that Indian exports could see a substantial drop in the ongoing financial year. The Trump administration had issued a notice detailing its plan to impose the second set of 25% tariffs on Indian goods earlier. This clearly shows how serious Trump has been about moving ahead with these trade measures against India, a move that targets the nation for continuing to buy Russian crude oil, or at least that is what the US has been claiming. Let's now give you a lowdown on what exactly could the impact of these tariffs be. What are the sectors that are going to be hit the most? In textiles and apparel, exports in 2024-2025, they were amounting to $10.9 billion. Then it's diamonds, gold jewelry, and other exports in 2024-2025 that amount to $10 billion. It is also going to impact the export of mechanical appliances, which stands at $6.7 billion. Agriculture and meat exports are about $6 billion. Steel, aluminium, copper exports are at $4.7 billion. And all this data has been from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The world is now quite aware that Donald Trump can be quite unpredictable. So these are just some of the sectors that will be affected for now. However, there are some sectors that would be exempt from this Trump tax, at least for now. These include pharmaceuticals. This is an export industry worth $12.7 billion. Electronics and smartphones worth $10.6 billion. Petroleum products about $4.1 billion. So India's loss is going to be whose gain? Remember, Donald Trump has put India in the highest bracket when it comes to his tariffs, giving other nations a competitive edge simply because they have lower tariffs imposed on them. Which are these countries? For textiles, the likely gainers are going to be Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Mexico. When it comes to diamonds and gold, the likely gainers could be Israel, Belgium, and China. As far as meat and processed food are concerned, the gainers could be Pakistan, Thailand, Vietnam. Steel, aluminium, copper, likely gainers would be Canada, European Union, and the UK. Now, we've got breaking developments also coming in, and the Commerce Ministry is going to hold a series of meetings this week with exporters from various sectors, including chemicals, gems, and jewelry, to discuss ways to boost exports to new markets to shield industries from steep 50% US tariffs on Indian goods. The official who spoke about this also says that work is progressing fast on the formulation of export promotion mission announced in the budget for 2025-2026. Rishabh, it looks like India is now almost reconciling with the fact that the tariffs, there is no way to avoid them. So now exploring newer avenues is the only solution.
Well, definitely. If we see the way now the tariff, in few hours from now, the tariff will be slapped on India, 27th of 27th of August, 00 hours Eastern time is when the tariff will be slapped. And Government of India now are looking at how to minimize the effect on the industry. And that's the reason that we are seeing the high-level meetings taking place now. The Commerce Ministry is expected to hold meeting with the industry leaders as well to understand what their, what the impact on them would be and how Indian government can minimize that effect because of these sweeping tariffs that have been slapped by Washington on India. So it would be interesting to see from here on that what Government of India does for the industry and how things, are not impacted to a point where things get out of hand.
All right, the things almost have already gotten out of hand. The talks that were supposed to take place are already on the back burner, although External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has been saying that because they have been delayed doesn't really mean that there is no negotiation happening at all. There are still talks that are taking place. The door is not completely shut. But while imposing punitive action on India, putting the moral burden of Ukrainian debts on India, India and shaming India for buying fuel from Russia and funding the massacre, US itself is discussing energy deals with Russian officials. If sponsoring war was the real reason for these tariffs, why is US not imposing secondary sanctions, as the White House calls them, on China? Beijing, remember, was the largest Russian oil purchaser last year. This hypocrisy doesn't end here. On a Tuesday, Trump said that US will allow the entry of 600,000 students from China and hailed what he calls great relationship with the country. Here's the hypocrisy on record.
The president has applied aggressive economic leverage, for example, the secondary tariffs on India, to try to make it harder for the Russians to get rich from their oil economy. He's tried to make it clear that Russia can be reinvited into the world economy if they stop the killing, but they're going to continue to be isolated if they don't stop the killing.
We're going to have a great relationship with China. I mean, it's happening. You see it. It's happening. They have some cards. We have incredible cards, but I don't want to play those cards. That would, if I played those cards, that would destroy China. I'm not going to play those cards.
Now, even as Trump goes ahead with his tariffs, ratings agencies have been showing faith in Modinomics. Fitch has affirmed India's credit rating at BBB- with a stable outlook. S&P Global upgraded India's sovereign rating to BBB from BBB-. What this basically means is that despite impending tariffs, which are now in force, of course, there is resilience in Indian economy. This resilience also reflected in Prime Minister Modi's assertions, second of its kind, that was made yesterday, that Bharat will not give in to any kind of pressure, no matter how great it is.
मेरी सरकार किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी। दबाव कितना ही क्यों न आए, हम झेलने की अपनी ताकत बढ़ाते जाएंगे।
वोकल फॉर लोकल बने, स्वदेशी, ये हमारा जीवन मंत्र बनना चाहिए दोस्तों। गर्व से स्वदेशी की तरफ चल पड़ो।
Experts have predicted that India's exports could now drop to $18.6 billion from where it stands at the moment. However, several experts also believe that these tariffs would also equally hurt the American supply chain in the short term. But how much of a drop do we expect in India as of now? Now, here is a breakdown of that data. There could be as much as 70% drop in major export sectors, 43% decline in overall shipping to the United States. These, of course, are projections that have been made by GTRI analysis, but the actual impact is only going to be visible in a while. That's all we could pack for you in this broadcast. Thank you for watching.